But otherwise, I think we should be okay. So it is 7:01 and we are ready to start the live stream now. Hopefully my voice will make it. I will now call to order the regular City Council meeting of October 26th, 2020. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this meeting is being held electronically and members of council are participating remotely pursuant to the council's electronic participation policy. Public access to the meeting is available on the Local Government Access Channel 8 for Comcast and Xfinity subscribers and on the city's YouTube channel online. Public access is also available by telephone by utilizing the call-in numbers posted on the meeting agenda. All callers will be muted and may comment during the times allotted for public comment as indicated on the agenda. If you're on the phone line waiting to speak to council and are also watching the meeting on YouTube or Channel 8, please know there are a couple of seconds of delay with the live stream. Please turn down your computer or TV volume as we approach the sections of the agenda reserved for public invited to be heard, so you can hear the council meeting on the phone and to prevent background noise when you are unmuted. Those calling in and wishing to speak to council may text 303-450-8757 to sign up to provide public comment. Please note that you must connect to the City Council meeting by calling the separate call-in number listed on the agenda. If you prefer to not text your name to the clerk, please speak up and indicate your desire to provide public comment when prompted at the appropriate time. Once you have been recognized, state your name and address and provide your comments to council. Thank you for following these directions and for maintaining meeting decorum tonight. Joanna, will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Leidy.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford may be absent. Councilmember Witkovich.
Here.
Councilmember Peterson.
Here.
Councilmember Downing.
Here.
Councilmember Brown.
Here.
Councilmember Goff.
Here.
Councilmember Duran Malika.
Here.
Councilmember Escobar.
Here.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen and pull up the flag. So if you could join me, I'm actually going to ask Councilmember Peterson to lead us tonight in the pledge.
Happy to do it. I hope I know the words.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
That was great, Randall.
Yes, well done. Thank you. Response to citizen inquiry. City Manager Geyer, do we have any?
Nothing this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have any agenda additions or deletions? Oh, did I lose everybody?
No.
Or was that a no? Oh. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
I hear you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. We are going to move into proclamations. The first one we have tonight. Just show the screen and tell you all about it. Okay. National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So here we go. Whereas during National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we honor breast cancer survivors and our heartfelt support to those currently battling the disease. And whereas this year, the data available estimates that more than 276,000 women and 2,620 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And whereas breast cancer, also referred to as a chest cancer, affects all genders. It is important for everyone, including people who identify. Sorry, my computer's adding weird little things. I apologize. It is important for everyone, including people who identify as transgender, non-binary, and gender fluid, to get information and seek preventative care. And whereas the overall death rate from breast cancer decreased by 1.3% per year from 2013 to 2017, and the decline is attributed in part to earlier detection through screening, increased awareness, and continually improving treatment options. And whereas, as we display pink ribbons and wear pink clothing to raise awareness, we also support those courageously fighting breast cancer, honor the lives lost, and recognize the families forever changed. And whereas this October, we recognize breast cancer survivors, those battling the disease, their families and friends who are a tireless source of love and encouragement, and applaud the efforts of our medical professionals and researchers working to find a cure for this deadly disease. And whereas Breast Cancer Awareness Month is an opportunity to unite residents in our community to prevent breast cancer deaths through increased education and regular screening. Now, therefore, I, Meredith Leidy, Mayor of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, do hereby proclaim October 2020 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Northglenn, and urge all residents to increase their knowledge about breast cancer, its risk factors, early detection, and treatment options. Dated at Northglenn, Colorado, this 26th day of October 2020. Is there anyone on council that would like to add to that? Councilmember Malika?
Yes, sorry, I was having issues with my mute button. Yeah, I really just appreciate this proclamation a lot. I had a grandmother who had breast cancer and beat it. She ended up, passing away from another cause, but it is something that affects so many people. I think probably all of us know somebody who has had breast cancer and either survived or did not. And so it's definitely a cause that I think hits home to all of us.
I agree. Absolutely. Okay. We are moving into presentations. We have a dedicated service award for one of our infamous perhaps, NURA members. So I'm going to pull up his award. I have to shrink my screen a smidge. Hold on. Okay. So, actually, I'm going to read this first. I apologize for the... So we have Jim Lynch. Is he with us tonight? I certainly hope so. Jim, are you on the phone? Okay, well, here or not, he has worked very hard for our city. So Jim served on the Northglenn Urban Renewal Authority since 2005. In addition to NURA, he has been very active with the city, previously serving on the Citizens Affairs Board and being honored last year during our 50th anniversary resident recognition program for all of his contributions in the community. So I had asked Councilmember Brown, who has worked closely with to say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. I've been sitting on council now for 5 years, and I have over 15 years of service in the city of Northglenn. And Jim has been a remarkable resource for me, from volunteering to being on the NURA board with him. I've learned so much just from him on the NURA board. He's knowledgeable and professional at all times, and he's a strength to our city. I'm really thrilled to death that we are recognizing him for this award. And I'm sorry that you're not here, Jim, but I'll call you tonight and tell you how it went. You're right. He is currently sitting on CAB. I was very disappointed when he stepped down from NURA, mostly because I count on him a lot. But he is just a wonderful, dedicated person who helps out so much with the police department at Christmas time. He's always there for us. So, Jim, I thank you so much for your service to the city of Northglenn.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. And so this dedicated service award will be sent to Jim's home.
He will love it.
Yes, it's lovely. Okay. Now we are moving into the Youth Commission quarterly report. We have Youth Commission members Lily Kunis and Abian Bareli will provide a report to council.
Hi. So I hope you all can hear me. So I'm Lily, and tonight Abian could not make it because he has a family and cultural event going on tonight, and he'll definitely be either in the annual report or the one after. He really wanted to be here, but he had some commitments to get to. But I am the president of Youth Commission. I was president 2 years ago, I believe, and then I took over from Jacob's position. And I'll just get right into it. So our first item on the agenda is recruitment. So recruitment has been a little bit different this year, but we are actively trying to recruit new members through our Zoom classes, through our clubs and extracurriculars, and even sports. And so far we've received one application, and then we also have someone who is actively attending currently. And she has attended 2 meetings so far, and I hope she's planning to apply, but she's been participating and she's just been a real help to the group, and we hope that she applies. And we will get to the other application in just a moment, just she has a couple more commitments before she can fully commit to the Youth Commission. But other than that, we're still looking to fill some vacant spots, and we are excited to see who else will want to join the Youth Commission. Okay, and then the next, I might be also going out of order, it's just I will make sure to cover everything that is on the list. So our next thing was the voter registration drive. So we are very passionate this year about making sure that we get young people to register to vote. And once again, it's a little bit tougher this year because there's no in-person, or we can't really promote it in person. So we decided as a youth commission to do an online one through our schools. So we first completed a voter registration drive, and then with Amanda, and she made sure that we had everything we needed to know. And then we went and sent an email to all of our schools and administration and counselors to try to get the word out to our schools. And I know that Northglenn High School definitely worked with their English teachers. And we made sure that all schools in Adams 12, which we attended, and some others, to make sure that just at least the offer to register to vote is out there. And we just wanted to focus on the 16-year-olds because that's when you can start to register to vote in Colorado, but also focus on the 18-year-olds and above, and even parents, so that they are able to vote this year and for future years to come. So, and then our link was to the Secretary of State's voter registration site. We didn't want to create our own because that would just be a little too complicated for all of us to understand, but it worked out great. And our aimed for day, or the day that we made sure that most of the schools were posting about it, was September 22nd, because that is National Voter Registration Day. So we just decided to make that, but we were offering it all the way up to October 26th, which I think is today. So yeah. And then, so our next one is our work with the teen vaping Facebook live stream. So, and we had one youth participant. I was very interested in joining, but every single time I had scheduling conflicts, and I know many others were the same situation. But he had a great time working together with different city members, and I believe that he was also in the live stream, which is very interesting. That was Avian, so you did get to see his face a little bit. And we felt that it was really important to tackle as a youth commission because we worked with the RMC2C in the beginning to make sure that like we were at least a little bit of a research group. So that was exciting to see something finally pan out from it. Also to have some youth commission representation. Okay, and then the next is the Dr. COG. So that's a long acronym, but that was working with the metropolitan area and the Tri-County area also about just future transportation and just making for, I believe it's in 2050, that's when the plan is going into action. It's very far away, but we got to start working on that stuff early. So we joined as a youth commission group for their youth committee or youth council board. There's a special name, but my mind can't think of it at the moment. But so we've been there since the beginning. It first started out with Jacob, and then it got passed down onto me. So I've been I attended the recent meeting, and I believe the next one's in November or December. And with the recent one, we were learning how to scale projects. And currently the committees are beginning with 137 different projects, and they're going to be narrowing it down to 60. So, and the youth is just making an input because it is our future. So we want to make sure that there's at least a little bit of our input in there. Okay, on to the next side of my note. But so now I'm going to talk about our 360 review report. So like we reviewed this 360 report and we gave some recommendations. We did that with City Manager Geyer. And as a youth council, we just wanted to learn some more information about it because we read over the papers, but it was still a little confusing. So it was nice to have City Manager Geyer with us in order to answer our questions. And then we shared our recommendations and our support with Councilmember Brown for the community co-production policing, because we felt strongly about that one. And it just felt better once as we had some place to answer our questions afterwards. So thank you, City Manager Geyer, for all that information. And then lastly, we had our racial equity meeting and discussion with Dr. Nishi, and she was speaking to us on how to address and identify microaggression with peers. And we felt that that was very important for us, especially with all that has been going on recently. And in the past too, we just want to make sure that we are able to give accurate information back to our peers and just make sure that we can have a safe and comfortable conversation while also educating the people which we are talking to about how their microaggressions might go unrecognized with some people and how it will be apparent with others. And we definitely felt like that was good for our group to at least learn about, because once again, we are growing up in such a strange generation, such an interesting world that every day we want to make sure that we're learning and we're putting out the best of our information to our peers and hoping that we can make a difference in the world. So yeah, and I believe that is all that we plan to discuss tonight. So if there's any questions, feel free to ask me.
Thank you, Lily. Councilmember Mullica.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for being here and for that update. I think it was very helpful. I also really wanted to congratulate Avian for participating in the panel last Thursday. I thought it was great that the Youth Commission was represented and represented well, and so I just wanted to extend that thank you out to him. I thought he did a great job. So. And overall, I mean, great work. I'm really excited about some of the tasks that you've been able to accomplish given the circumstance that we're in. And so really congratulate you guys. Good job.
Thank you so much. And I'll pass that along too.
Councilmember Brown.
Lily, it's nice to see you. Thank you so much for everything you guys do. I just want to reiterate that this is a fantastic group of young people. Very open-minded, lots of really good discussion around our racism and diversity meeting last week. I'm sorry, excuse me. I cannot express enough how great this group is to work with. They are probably the most knowledgeable group of young people that I have ever met. They work well together, they're excited, and I just really enjoy working with you guys, Lily. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you again, Lily. Excellent job presenting tonight. Okay, we're moving into COVID-19 update. So we have Rupa here for that, and she's gonna run the show. Thanks, Rupa.
Sure, no problem. Happy to be here. Okay. Make sure I have this set up. So I'm here tonight to provide a COVID-19 update. This was added at the last minute in light of the news that came out from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And the reason why we're having this update is because on this Wednesday, October 28th at 5 p.m., the state is going to be moving Adams County into safer at home level 3. And this dial is from tonight. And as you can see, here are some of the metrics that have dictated why the state is taking these measures. So our 2-week cumulative incidence rate is 547.6. And the magic number to stay at safer at home level 2 is 175. To stay at safer at home level 3, that number is 350, but we're at 547. And then the magic number for the positivity rate is 5%, and we're at 10.4. So as I mentioned, because of these metrics, the state is going to move us to safer at home level 3 this Wednesday at 5. And the graphic is a little hard to read, so I put it in the middle what the major impacts are. So capacities are going to be reduced from 50% to 25% for the following: retail, places of worship, personal spaces, restaurants, and offices. And then gyms, unfortunately, will have to close. And from my understanding, Debbie Tuttle, our Economic Development Director, she's done a lot of work in contacting our businesses in Northglenn and connecting them with Tri-County Health Department. And personal trainings can happen, but gyms overall are closed. And City Manager Geyer, feel free to jump in on anything that I'm missing in regards to impact on city operations. But as of right now, we have not changed anything that we're doing in terms of city services. We're still fully functional, and City Hall will remain open, but we will reevaluate that after Election Day to see if we should shift into appointment only. We are getting a lot of walk-ins into City Hall with questions about voting and elections. So we want to make sure that we have that accessibility to the public. So we're not going to go, so we'll have City Hall open until at least after Election Day, and then we'll reevaluate. In terms of staff, in order to keep our staff safe, we are going to telework as much as possible to minimize in-person contact. Impact on city events. So as of right now, we haven't changed anything with city events. This Friday's Boo Block drive-through is still happening. And we did ask Tri-County Health Department if our plan is still safe to happen in regards to the new restrictions. And they have said, yes, we can still go ahead and have our drive-through events on Friday from 4 to 6 at the Northglenn Marketplace. All participants will be staying in their vehicles. Staff will be masked up. And there will be another queue where flu shots will be offered through Tri-County Health Department. We'll also be offering a $5 gift card incentive to Starbucks. The flu shots are free, and it will be first come, first serve for the first 100. And the flu shots are going to be administered as folks stay in their vehicles. So again, nobody's going to be leaving their vehicles for that. The communications department and special events is still planning on Noel Northglenn on December 4th and the bike giveaway on December 5th. And we, of course, will check with Tri-County Health Department on our plans as we move closer to those events. But these are outdoor events, and the bike giveaway is going to be by appointment only. And for the impact on businesses, special thanks to Olivier with First Light Video, who produced 4 PSAs. I want to show you the one that he worked on for our businesses, just so City Council and public especially is aware of the impacts that COVID-19 has had on our businesses, and ask that everybody help support businesses. So I will go ahead and play it.
COVID-19 has taken a toll on local businesses, and a rising number of cases in Adams County could mean more negative impacts for your favorite restaurants, bars, and gyms.
COVID has had a massive impact on our business, specifically back in March when we actually had to close our facility for almost 8 weeks because we weren't allowed to operate. Really decimated revenues. It was one of those that employees and contracted workers that we work with had no job for that 8-week period. So definitely not a fun time to be in the fitness space.
COVID has impacted our business in an unprecedented way for sure. Our industry went through some massive changes overnight. We went from 98% dine-in and 2% to-goes to 100% to-goes literally overnight. And it was scary. It was a very scary time. A lot of unease going on with all of our employees. But we came together. We're a family here, and we've been pivoting every day since March.
If you want to eat in a restaurant, get your hair cut, or go to a movie, then please take the pledge to protect our businesses, our economy, and our jobs.
We're a very large company who has, benefits across the nation, but that's not the same for some of the smaller restaurants. So going backwards after we've finally gotten our feet underneath us that'd be really scary. These are real people and real jobs, and real people would be impacted by that.
No one goes into business planning on not being able to run and operate their business. So anybody in the fitness industry, this would have a massive impact to not be able to do their livelihood and provide not only for their family, but for their employees' families.
Practice the Safe 6. Stay 6 feet from others, wear a mask, wash or sanitize your hands often, be extra safe if you're higher risk, stay home if you are sick, have been exposed to COVID-19 or tested positive, and get tested.
We're doing everything we can to be a part of the solution here at Texas Roadhouse, and we really appreciate the support of the community in the same efforts. Do your part, be safe, wear masks, continue to support your businesses, and we are going to continue to provide a safe environment for you and for our employees here.
We just want everybody to help be a part of the solution. So taking whatever measures you can to make sure that you're staying safe and healthy, wearing masks, washing your hands, keeping your distance is much appreciated among the business community.
So remember to mask up and move forward to keep Northglenn's business community healthy and strong.
Just to reiterate, so this is from Tri-County Health Department, and this has also gone out in resident mailers that, again, kudos to Diane and the communications team for putting this together, but we ask that our Northglenn residents practice the Safe 6, so stay 6 feet from others, wear your mask, wash your hands often, be extra safe if you're higher risk, stay at home when sick, and get tested. And so we don't want to be in the situation where we're at level 3, but unfortunately on Wednesday we will be. So we're asking that everybody do what they can so that we can move on to go back to level 2 as soon as possible. And the state will be reviewing our metrics again with Adams County and Tri-County Health Department on November 1st. And with that, I will turn it to City Manager Geyer if she has anything to add.
Thank you, Rupa. Just a couple of quick notes. Staff is pivoting. So in light of the new restrictions, Amanda and her staff are having conversations around what impacts specifically to the recreation center and fall recreation programming. We were definitely on a path to offer certain programs that now we need to pull back. So please be aware of that. We'll keep you posted on access to city facilities. Don't need to repeat what Rupa shared earlier, but that's something that even though contact tracing data shows that it's small to large gatherings, that are the two main culprits in terms of our COVID numbers increasing. We are being encouraged by the state and by Tri-County Health Department to do what we can to minimize contact as much as possible. So that's why we're taking the steps we're taking as an organization. So we'll continue to keep you posted. Please do your part. And we'd ask the community to do your part as well, so we can get through this. Thank you.
Thank you. I know we have quite a few council members that would like to speak. So I have Councilmember Downing and then Mullica. And Councilmember Brown, is your hand up or was that from before? Okay, I'll take that. Okay, great. Councilmember Downing.
I had a question from a constituent today, and I heard your response a little bit about the recreation center, but specifically about the pool. Will that continue to remain as it is scheduled right now, or will there be some closures? Do you have any idea?
Good evening. Take that, Amanda.
I can. Good evening, Councilmember Downing. The pools are specifically closed under level 3. We do have a question into Adams County to better to Tri-County Health to better understand if personal training applies in the pool area as well as the weight room or gym. If it does, we may be able to offer some very small group fitness opportunities in the pool. But we're not sure of that answer as of yet. We did get some response back from our contact at Tri-County Health this evening, but she was still looking for some additional clarity and was hoping to get back to us tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Mullica and then Goff.
So my question is actually for Rupa. So where are we at with the CARES money that we still have left when it comes to businesses, and how is that program still going? Do we have any money left? I feel like they're going to need it again.
Yeah, so I know Debbie Tuttle, our Economic Development Director, is on the line, so I will defer to her.
Oh, hey, Deb.
You're
muted.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Our grant program we extended till October 30th, which is this Friday. We have $300,000 left. $200,000 has been expended. We weren't planning on extending it any further. We've really done a lot of outreach, and we are continuing this week with more outreach. This week and last week, we really did a lot of push to our assisted living facilities because none of them had taken advantage of that. We called every single one of them. We've emailed them several times during this process, and none of them have taken advantage of it. So we're hoping they will. We do believe that we've hit just about all the businesses so far that will probably take advantage of the grant that we have right now.
Okay. All right. I was just curious if there might be another wave of folks who seek help. And can you receive it twice, or what was our guidelines around those? Okay.
Yeah, so they can apply more than once. So they can, the maximum of the grant is $5,000. So many of them have come back 2 and 3 times, so they've had that opportunity since we started the grant back in July.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I think, I just wanted to get an update on that and to see how much money we had left. I hope those who need it again, because that's
300,000 is what is left out of the allocation of the 500,000.
Okay, great. And then I guess my final question for whoever wants to answer it. I know that previously we discussed when we were first talking about the CARES monies, and it's probably too late for this conversation now, but with Governor Polis extending the eviction moratorium till December, I just wanted to ask one more time, is there any possibility to provide relief in any way to renters or landlords who are really just continuing to struggle through this period of time?
Yeah, so I believe last council meeting, actually, City Council approved an agreement with Maker Housing for $320,000.
It's on tonight, Rupa.
Oh, it's on tonight. I'm sorry. Okay, so
No, that's
tonight, City Council will get an opportunity to approve $320,000 to Maker Housing. So previously, we thought that Maker Housing, since they had such a huge backlog, they weren't able to get through their already existing applications, but they had since contacted us to say, hey, great news. We were able to get through that backlog. So we went ahead and offered the $320,000 again, which they're fairly confident they'll be able to get through our deadline. So that's on for tonight.
Yeah. Great. I will leave it to that conversation then. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Goff and then Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor Leidy. Mine's not actually a question, maybe more of an addition. I did get a notification, I think it was from the governor's office, but anyway, you can now get contact notifications on your smartphone anonymously, so it's not like anybody's tracking individuals. If you have an iPhone, I know you can just go right into the settings, because I did it today. This new option pops up, and it's I can't remember the name of it now, but it's a contact. Let's see, I'll go find it, and I can tell you exactly the wording. Exposure notifications is what it's called. And on an Android phone, you have to get an app, and I don't know the information for that, but I do know that the state has put together a website, or someone has, and the state is passing the information out, and it's www.addyourphone.com. So if you want to know, if anybody wants to know more about how you can sign up for that, then the phones just talk to each other like behind the scenes. And if anyone gets a positive COVID test, then all the people that they've been in contact recently while they had their cell phone with them and will be also contacted that they've been exposed to it. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't give any personal information, but that could be another way for people to keep on top of the spread of this and to help each other out in terms of trying to contain it. So I just wanted to add that in, and that's it for me tonight.
That's crazy technology.
I know, isn't it?
I don't know how I feel about it, but that's kind of cool and kind of scary at the same time. Okay. Councilmember Brown and then Councilmember Peterson.
Councilmember Goff, first of all, I'd like to apologize. I didn't realize I was not muted when I laughed, but I'm sitting here with my cane trying to shut the back door in between Joe coming in and out. And it's making me cranky. I had a question about the CARES money. We have to spend all of it by December 3rd, right? Isn't that the date that it has to be done?
December 4th.
December 4th. And are we on track to do that?
So that's something that Jason may be able to answer better than myself, but we'll know more information by November 16th, because that's when the organizations that have applied for CARES Act money from us, that's their deadline to submit for reimbursement.
Okay. I think my other question, it actually goes back to the trick or treat thing. Are we using CARES money for that?
For the boo block?
Yeah.
I don't think so, no.
I'm just kind of worried that we're only, I've worked Trick or Treat Street for 15 years. And if we're doing 100 gift bags with those big old signs all around the marketplace, I am afraid that we're not going to have enough for a lot of kids.
We have, Councilmember Brown, we have 1,800 bags.
Oh, okay.
Candy. So we're doing 100 free food trucks.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Sorry. I misunderstood you. Okay. Then that makes me very happy. I'll be there with my granddaughter. I think that's all I have. Do you know if daycares are open? Are they allowed to stay open?
I believe they should be allowed to stay open as an essential service. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Peterson and then Councilmember Malika again. Yes.
Okay. Real briefly, Mayor, thanks very much. 25% capacity, does that include grocery stores, or are grocery stores exempt from that?
Yeah, they're exempt from it as a essential service.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Councilmember Malika.
Great, thanks. And I just saw that it's on the consent agenda, so I figured I'd ask my question now because there's not going to be questions later on this item. For the Maker Housing Partner CARES Act, the only thing I wanted to ask real quick, because I was actually looking on Adams County website today for a link for a constituent to fill out that application for the Maker Housing Partners, because I knew Adams County had that program, and like none of the links on Adams County's website is working. I couldn't find the application anywhere, actually, to be honest with you. So can we just make sure that that is, communicate with Ray Gonzalez and just make sure that that's fixed, and then our residents have a good idea of where they need to go? Because I had a hard time today.
Yeah, so they're not accepting any new applications right now. So the money that we're giving to Maker Housing, it's Northglenn residents that are in queue. So they're ready to get funded. So as soon as City Council can approve it tonight, for example, we'll get in contact with Maker Housing and they'll set up with the finance department, the reimbursement account information and all of that. So it's applications that are in queue, ready to get funded and awarded. So
the money that we're approving is just going to cover those 58 applications.
Yes, and then there's, I forget what the memo said, but I think there's about 60 that are that aren't ready to be awarded yet, but they have to go through the process of contacting individuals to get more information, that kind of thing. But that will take 20,000.
All right, thank you. That's helpful.
Okay, does anyone else have questions? Looking, no. I would like to thank the team. That video is incredible. It's very thorough. I think it really gets the message across in a way that hopefully our residents will understand the impact. And so I know it's still a very controversial topic. You can see people on both sides of the issue all over the place. But I think trying to help residents understand the impact to our businesses, it was just well done. So thank you to the whole team. And thank you, Rupa, for your presentation. We now have public invited to be heard. Joanna, do we have anyone?
I did not receive any emails. I don't have any text messages. So I might just ask to pause for a minute and let anybody on the phone line know that they can unmute themselves by pressing *6 if they would like to provide public comment.
Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move into council communications. In a rare twist, I'm going to go first. And I just wanted to, I have very few things is why. I've attended all the meetings that Heather and Rupa have with Tri-County, and they're all lots of data. If there's any residents on the line or watching that want to see the information and see the data, it's all being tracked on the Tri-County Health Department website. So, definitely check it out. It's, if you're a data geek like me, it's really interesting. But it can also be really scary because that curve in our state is spiking pretty high. Also, I wanted to thank the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They hosted the community food drive on Saturday, and I got the opportunity to meet their staff and see all the amazing volunteers that they had on Saturday, but also to learn a little bit about their organization. And they provide so much food to our residents, to our Northglenn organizations. And they do that from their church. So a lot of the items, even though they, the community helps, they provided a truckload on their own. And it was very impressive to see. And I was very thankful because all of that goes right back to our residents. So I wanted to make sure that they got a thank you. And that is all I have. So here's another twist because I need to eat my soup. I'm going to have you go in order, starting with Randall Peterson, Councilmember Peterson, all the way till you get to the end. Ready, set, go.
I attended the Legislative Affairs Committee tonight, and other than that, I have nothing new to report.
I've got nothing tonight. Thank you.
Joyce.
Well, alphabetically, I thought you were going.
Oh. No, we're on the dais.
All right. You want me to go?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I just have one update. Rocky Flats Stewardship Council today approved their budget, and what they did was they waived all the fees for 2021 for the different municipalities. So you will not have to provide any fees or to them this coming year, Heather. That's it for me.
I last week had the Youth Commission, which I just love those kids, you know that. I just want to say that I really did enjoy Dr. Nishi's presentation on racism and diversity. You know, I watched the videotape on the one that was done to our council group, and quite a stark contrast. I really enjoyed it, Heather. And the conversation that went around it, the clear and concise information, the challenges, it was really, really a good 2 hours well spent. That's all I have.
Is it me?
I think so.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure. All right. I have three things. Thursday, this past Thursday, was the first meeting of, I'm calling it the DICE board, but it's the Diversity, Inclusivity, and Social Equity Board. Anyway, we had our first meeting, and some pretty amazing people, a lot of energy and interest, a lot of background experience. I think we're going to have a lot of great things coming out of this committee. So that was a very rewarding experience for me. And then this morning, I was speaking to the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission as a citizen of Colorado, the state of Colorado, to support them and encourage them on their rulemaking regarding clean air and kind of the regulations that they have in place to keep public safety and clean air in the forefront while balancing the needs of the oil and gas industry. So that was also very interesting. And then it's my turn to report out on the legislative group that Councilmember Peterson mentioned. And we didn't really have a lot to talk about just yet. There's going to be a whole lot after our next meeting, because that will be after the election, and there will be some action and possibly some changes. We don't know yet. The Paid Family Leave Act that is on the ballot right now seems, according to all the polls and experts, likely to pass. It may not affect the city as very much, because I know municipalities are exempt, but that is out there, so people can know about that. And the other thing is just to put out that, in Colorado, we've done mail-in voting for many years, and it's secure and safe. And I know there's been a lot of rhetoric out challenging that, and I don't know what it's like in other states, but in Colorado, it's fine. And the other thing is that to let people know that it's quite possible that we may not know the results of the presidential election on the day of the election, at the end of the day, or even the next day. And it could even take a week or more, just because of the volume and the number of states that have not done mail-in balloting previously and are now having to deal with that. So as somebody was pointing out to me, there's a hashtag going around, stay calm and count on. So that's just the message I wanted to get out on that. The other item on our agenda that we discussed was the legislative dinner. And I say dinner because it's going to be virtual. And we will have our legislative policy brochure ready for City Council to look at here pretty soon. And then shortly after that, we will be sending them out to our legislators, and some of whom possibly could be different than they were depending on the election results. So that dinner will be planned for I believe in January, December or January sometime. But that's all that we really had to talk about. So that's it for me tonight.
All right. So I just have two things. One, I was appointed the chair of the governance subcommittee for the RTV Accountability Committee. Definitely taking up a lot more time than I ever anticipated, but I think they're great conversations. One of the main things I'm hoping to do as chairs discuss how we have more local input on what RTD decides to do with local transit issues. One of the biggest ideas that I've been talking with other city council members about from other cities is about creating a community-based transportation plan. And so what does that look like? And so I'll be relying on my connections with those other cities, as well as, of course, Brooke. I think we're coming back around to that conversation again, so just a heads up. But that conversation's coming back. And we're going to see how we could try and improve our relationship with RTD. That's our goal. And also, I spoke at the Air Quality Control Commission meeting last Friday, just commenting about their greenhouse gas reduction roadmap plan. Transportation is the largest emitter of greenhouse gases, and so I think it fits very nicely with what I spend most of my time talking about, which is transportation and a lot of progress that we need to make in those areas. So that's all I got. Thanks.
Somewhere in there is a mute button. I really don't have anything other than I attended the virtual meeting with the Northglenn Senior Organization. And all I can say is that our seniors are tired and would like to get back to normal. The main topic of discussion was voting, and we all agreed that we should all vote because our life depended on it. So that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Can I add really quickly, Antonio? One of the things that I saw circulating on Facebook is something that the Northglenn Senior Organization is doing for our veterans. Do you want to speak about that?
I'm sorry, you broke up. I didn't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw what the Northglenn seniors are doing for our veterans. Do you want to speak about that?
Well, what they hoped to do was send packages, but because of COVID, that's really difficult to organize that and accomplish this. I don't think we're doing anything this year. I think
they're doing the yard signs for veterans.
Oh, I thought you were talking about our veterans overseas.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yes,
our city. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's supposed to come about. I think the deadline to request signs was something like the 3rd of November, because Veterans Day is the 11th. I believe it's the 3rd is the last day that you can request them. And as I understand it, Kate Fisher and Diana Wilson are the ones that are kind of putting all this together. So what they're doing is they're asking for recommendations from the community. If you know a veteran and you think that veteran, you would like to recognize that veteran for his service, get that contact to either Kate Fisher or to Diana or the communications department for that matter, and they'll make it happen. So, all they really want is your name and the branch of service. So, Antonio Escobar, United States Army. Pretty simple. Thank you.
They're really cool, though. So, just if
we
are listening,
I think they got like 500 signs. So we'll see if they run out like we did the first round of the hug signs. I'm sure we have more than 500 veterans, but just the same, that's going to be a lot of signs.
That's cool. Okay, thanks. City Manager Geyer.
Thank you, Mayor Leidy. I'd just like to share with council that the leadership team, along with Judge Bale Hash, participated in an equity training on Friday facilitated by Monica Williams with the Equity Project, and that went really well. So we'll probably do a next training, figure out what that looks like after we have an opportunity to get some additional feedback and where leadership team wants to go with our work, but just wanted to share with you that went really well. Thank you.
City Clerk Small. Hi.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have some quick information about the November 3rd general election. After today, it is recommended that voters return their ballots at a drop-off box or at a vote center and do not send them through the mail. And so I wanted to note that Adams County is providing a different service this year due to COVID to limit the amount of contact at the vote centers. They are offering what they're calling curbside ballot pickup, which is wonderful. You can apply for a ballot either by the phone or online. I looked at the application online. It's really easy to fill out. They ask you some specific questions about yourself and about your vehicle, and then they will schedule a time for you and contact you when your ballot is ready, and then provide the instructions for you to go pick up that ballot so you don't even have to get out of your car, which is wonderful. But I also listened into the Adams County Regional COVID meeting last week and was so happy to hear the Adams County Clerk and Recorder, Josh Ziegelbaum, say that Adams County has the highest number of ballot drop-off boxes per capita in the state. That is so awesome. It is such a wonderful service that the county provides for voters. And so he mentioned, they're located in really convenient places nowadays. They're at the library, they're at grocery stores. You can use anyone in Adams County. And of course, we have the lovely one at City Hall. So that was wonderful. And I just want to encourage people to please continue to drop those ballots off. And you can do that through 7 p.m. on Election Day. And that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Corey, how are you?
I'm doing well, Madam Mayor. And Madam Mayor, members of council, I do not have anything tonight.
Okay. Okay, we have the financial update from Jason Loveland. Jason, do you have a presentation?
If you want to scroll through the packet, we can do that.
I don't have to if you just want to talk to us.
I can just do a verbal.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah.
So through the month of August, which seems like forever ago at this point, I'll touch on sales and use tax through August. That was down 8.4%. Specifics in that number, auto use tax was down over 18%, a real lag in auto sales. Sales tax specifically down 5.8%. So a lot of drag there. Overall, geographically, we talk about the locations within the city limits. We're comparable to that decrease of 8%. On a positive side, kind of on the pluses, food tax continues to do very well, up 13% through August. And then the marijuana tax is up just under 9% through August. So some positive things happening through August compared to, April and May, but still things aren't back to par where they were last year. On the fund side, I'll just say across all of the funds that we're going to discuss, spending is in alignment with what we had budgeted. No anomalies other than in the general fund where we have some the CARES Act funding spending. So if you look at comparables from one year to the next, you'll see some discrepancies with higher revenues coming in from the grant funds, and then also going back out. But year-to-date revenues in the general fund are at $16.8 million, and that's a decrease of about 2.7% year over year. Expenditure-wise, those are in line. They're at 16.8%, which is about 50% of the annual appropriation. So being through August, we're at 66% through the budget year. So being at 50%, we can see some of the reduced spending that we put into effect several months ago. In the water funds, year-to-date revenues are $7.5 million. That's an increase of over 10%. The biggest driver for water is consumption is up 11% through August. On the expenditure side in that fund, $5.4 million has been spent, or 47% of the annual appropriation. The wastewater fund, year-to-date revenues are at $2.9 million. There's an increase in those charges of just about 10%. And then on the expenditure side, falling in line, total expenditures of $2.5 million, which is actually a decrease of over $400,000. And a large portion of that is due to capital projects. I will see a reduction in the wastewater fund spending. In the stormwater fund, total revenues are $274,000, basically in line with the prior year. And then spending at 59% or $59,000, which is 12% of the total appropriation. Then the sanitation fund, relatively flat revenues, a slight decrease actually of 1%, but that totals $1.2 million. And then year-to-date expenditures in the sanitation fund are just over $900,000. The last piece, I guess, that I'll update you on is our cash and investments. At the end of August, that was at $85.6 million. And that is up from about $70 million in the prior year. So with that, that's kind of a quick overview of the 33 pages that we provided, but if there's any questions on specifics, I'm happy to answer those.
Councilmember Brown.
Hey, Jason, it seems kind of late for us to be getting the August numbers. When will we have the September numbers?
Like in 2 weeks.
Okay. And my favorite question, in August, what was our general reserve at that point?
My favorite answer is 80%.
All right. Perfect. Okay. That's really, believe it or not, I'm looking at them right now again, and that's the only question I have this time.
Okay, any other questions for Jason?
Can I say I lied and ask one more?
Sure.
Jason, you're going to make any changes to your calculations for these last 2 months of the year based on the fact that we're going back up to level 3? Down,
yeah.
up?
Yeah, that's a great question. Possibly. I think that as we move forward, we were talking about that today, and we won't really see the impacts until the end of December, because we'll see the tax impacts basically for the month of November, depending on how long we're at level 3. And I guess that variable is super important to know. Are we going to be in this for 2 weeks, 2 months? How long is that going to last? And then we won't have good numbers until the end of December. So it will be something that we need to refine. And largely, it will depend on when we find out how long we'll be moved back to this level. So that is why I say possibly.
Okay.
We'll make some modifications. So great question.
Can we get a really good estimate? I know I'm asking ahead of time of where we're at before the end of the year. Just, for giggles. When we get in December, you know what I mean? I'm not asking you to do it today. I'm just worried.
Yeah, no, I think that in early December, when we bring forward the October financials, we'll have a little bit more clarity on where things are going.
I was at the marketplace just a little while ago today, And I was surprised everything that's not opening. Okay, I'll ask Debbie my question later. Thank you.
I believe Debbie is with us if you want to ask her now.
Hey, Debbie, I was just kind of curious about Cinzetti's. Do they have plans to reopen when they can?
When they can. When they can
They
do, but when they can do the buffet. We don't
Okay.
see that happening in the near future, though.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Other questions? Okay, Jason, thank you. Moving into the consent agenda, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy,
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mullica,
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel.
Yes.
I will close that vote and the consent agenda passes unanimously.
Okay, we are moving into public hearings. We have two. The first one, oops, CB 1953. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance repealing and reenacting Articles 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 16, and 17 of Chapter 10 of the Northglenn Municipal Code, amending Article 15 of Chapter 10 of the Northglenn Municipal Code, and adding new Article 21 of the Northglenn Municipal Code, adopting by reference the International Building Code 2018 edition, the National Electrical Code 2017 edition, the International Plumbing Code 2018 edition, the International Fire Code 2018 edition, the International Mechanical Code 2018 edition, the International Fuel Gas Code 2018 edition, the International Residential Code 2018 edition, the International Energy Conservation Code 2018 edition, the International Property Maintenance Code 2018 edition, the International Existing Building Code 2018 edition, and the International Swimming Pool and Spa Code 2018 edition, and amending the Uniform Code for Abatement of Dangerous Buildings 1997 edition.
Wow, thanks. I will now open the public hearing on CB 1953. Joanna, do we have any comments received, or is there anyone signed up to speak?
Let me double check here. I do not have any comments that were submitted in advance. Nope.
So is anyone on the phone who would like to speak either for or against CB 1953? Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. All right, moving into the next one, CB 1954. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 18 of Chapter 10 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding contractors' licenses.
Move for approval.
Oh,
it's a public hearing.
That's okay.
Never mind.
I will now open the public hearing on CB 1954. Joanna, did we have any comments submitted prior to the meeting?
No, I don't have any comments that were submitted prior. So just in case there's someone on the line, if they'd like to unmute themselves, you can do so by pushing *6.
Okay, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. Moving into, oh, we have three. Goodness, sorry. CB 1954, another public hearing. Joanna, will you read the title?
So the third public hearing is on the Carl's Farm filing number 1, amended number 2 final plat. And so there's not a specific title for that hearing, but I believe Senior Planner Eric Enzi is going to provide a presentation for council to walk you through the different components of this item.
Okay.
Good
I will now
evening.
open the public hearing on CB 1954.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. Mayor, if you could pull up the plat, the agenda item for Council Resolution 141 and scroll down to page 197 of that document. I've got a little presentation that will be helpful.
Okay.
And Madam Mayor, just Eric had texted me earlier. He's been having a little bit of an internet connection. So if we lose him, I will step in and get his.
Okay. Eric, is it in 1954 or is it in the final plat link?
It's in the final plat. So
got it. Okay.
No,
I got it now. I just needed to find it. It's loading. Slowly. It's a large document.
Yeah, it's a big document.
Oh, there's my. It's moving. Sorry. This is kind of funny. It's almost there. Okay, you want it all the way down at page.
Yeah, page, let me get that for you. I think it's.
Is it 1 something?
197.
197.
Okay. You're close.
I am close.
There we go.
Here we go.
Great. Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. The agenda item that we're giving the public hearing for will be related to a couple few votes resolutions section of the agenda. This is for Carl's Farm multifamily. It's a final plat and a subdivision improvement agreement. Next slide, please. The applicant in this request is Southern Land Company, LLC. They are a multifamily developer. Like I said, there is a request for a final plat subdivision, which is Council Resolution 141, and a subdivision improvement agreement, which is Council Resolution 142. We're going to go ahead and present both of these together, but there'll be separate votes, obviously, in your agenda later on. The location of the site here is north of 120th between Irma and Race Street. And this is a portion of the Carl's Farm site. If you will go to the next slide, please. This is just a vicinity map of the city showing you where the location of the Carl's Farm dairy site is, as well as the location of this. Next slide, please. And then this just goes into a little bit specific here. You can see the yellow outline is the actual Carl's Farm site. The red dashed line is the approximate location for where the multifamily is going to be going. Next slide, please. As we said, it is Carl's Farm site here. It is a replat of previous subdivision that was approved back in January. It's lot 1, block 8, which is this particular site. So they're replatting this as part of this request to you this evening. The site is zone PD, which is subject to the Carl's Farm preliminary PD, which was approved by council back in April of 2019. That southern land use parcel that we alluded to in the vicinity maps there is identified for mixed use land use, which does allow for multifamily. In terms of the existing land use, I don't know if you've been out there, but there's a lot of work going on right now. So the site is currently undeveloped. They are doing a lot of the overlock grading, as well as they'll be beginning utility installation here for the trunk infrastructure, which is the main utilities for the entire subdivision here probably this month or next month. This particular site is 12.23 acres of the entire 63.8 acre Carl's Farm site. So if you will go to the next slide, please. This just shows the zoning. Again, the site kind of located there in red. Next slide, please. In terms, a little background for you this evening. In April 2019, Council did approve the Carl's Farm preliminary PD. This document contains various development standards for the entire development. So in essence, what that did was create basically a zoning code for the entire site. Anything that's not in that document then does revert back to the UDO. This document was used to review the proposed development, and this particular site, as you can see in the bottom slide there, bottom left, is in Area C, which is that mixed use area. If you'll go to the next slide, please. This is just a look at the major site plan that was presented to the Planning Commission. So there are, I believe, 19 apartment buildings as well as 4 other out accessory buildings for the apartment complex itself here. This just gives you an idea of the lay of the land with Race to the right and Irma to the left. If you'll go to the next slide, please. These were some images. The next few slides here are just some images of what Southern Land is proposing out there for this multifamily apartment complex, just to give you an idea of what will be contained as part of this subdivision. So you can see this is looking into the main entrance. You can see on the left there, that would be the leasing, right, that main road that goes in there to the left is the leasing area, as well as the amenity center. So if you go to the next slide, please. This is just an example of what the leasing office is going to look like. They did try to incorporate some of the dairy elements, the farming elements as part of their buildings, their architecture with this development. So they did a pretty good job of trying to incorporate some of the history of this site into their development. Next slide, please. This is the back of that building looking at the pool. You can see the pool in the foreground there. So just another kind of angle as to what this is going to look like. Next slide, please. These would be, there is an element of townhomes. There's still rental townhomes as part of this, just a different option rental unit as part of this multifamily. So there are apartments as well as, I believe there are 12 townhomes as well. So if you go to the next slide, please. So continuing in background here, that was all reviewed as part of the major site plan. The major site plan was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their October 6th, 2020 meeting. The approval of that site plan was subject on the final plat that's being presented this evening and the subdivision improvement agreement being approved by council. Per the UDO, major site plans are required, are reviewed and approved by the Planning Commission. The major site plan was for approximately 385 unit apartment complex. Concurrently, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the final plat that's being presented to council this evening. If you go to the next slide, please. We'll go ahead and start with the case analysis here. Next slide, please. The final plat. So this is Carl's Farm filing number 1, Second Amendment, final plat. It's attached as an exhibit to Council Resolution 141 on your agenda this evening. This is a plat that will replat Lot 1, Block 8 of Carl's Farm, filing number 1, amendment number 1. Final plat that was approved previously this year. Again, the site is 12.23 acres. This document, in essence, memorializes utility and fire access easements associated with this development, as well as property boundaries and dimensions as well. There are public infrastructure required as part of this plat for this particular development, which does require approval of an SIA by City Council. And those will be installed by the developer, and I'll go into that a little bit later. The final plat itself is consistent with the previous final plat and preliminary plats for the Carl's Farm development, which is a requirement in the code. And the proposed replat is also consistent with the UDO for subdivision plats. Next slide, please. This just gives you an idea of kind of what the plat looks like. There are a number of pages on the plat you'll see in the exhibit to the council resolution. This just shows the dimensional boundaries of the particular subdivision itself. There are other pages of that do show the easements. Next slide, please. Notification of this public hearing was provided in accordance with Section 1163 sub E of the Unified Development Ordinance, meaning we did send notice out to all property owners within 500 feet of the property. Publication was done in the Thornton Northglenn Sentinel 15 days prior to this meeting, and then signs were posted on the property as well 15 days prior to the meeting. Next slide, please. Now we'll go into the case analysis for the subdivision improvement agreement. Next slide. So this is part of Council Resolution 142 on your agenda this evening. Section 1156 of the UDO does require an SIA when public infrastructure is required to be part of a final plat. In this case, the SIA is a legal document. It does outline the financial security obligations, civil construction documents, final exception process, and warranty provisions for those public infrastructure that's required as part of this development. In this case, they are required to provide water and sanitary sewer lines that will be public lines. The total infrastructure cost that they will be constructing will be $409,863. The public infrastructure provided here does tie into the trunk, which is the main infrastructure being constructed by the master developer for the entire Carl's Farm site. Next slide, please. This just gives you an idea of the water and sewer lines required as part of this development, just to give you an idea of what that will look like. Next slide, please. And next slide. Go ahead with the recommendation. The approval criteria, section 1166C of the UDO does require that that it comply with the approval criteria. Staff did provide a thorough analysis of this criteria in the Planning Commission staff memorandum. Staff does find that the proposed final plat is consistent with the approval criteria in the UDO, the submittal requirements in the administrative manual, and the Carl's Farm preliminary PD and comprehensive plan. There is no specific approval criteria for an SIA, as this is a legal agreement between the developer and the city. The city attorney has reviewed the SIA and approved it to form. Next slide, please. Staff's recommendation to the City Council is to approve both Council Resolution 141 and 142. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of the final plat because that was part of their purview and review at their last meeting on October 6th. And I would be happy to answer any questions for you this evening. The applicant, Southern Land, is here if you have any specific questions of him or of the development. He's on board to speak to those if you have any questions.
I do see a couple of questions. Councilmember Brown and Councilmember Goff on deck.
Hi, Eric.
Hello.
Refresh my memory as I'm watching Carl's Dairy, getting flattened out every day.
Sure.
Is that the only housing that's going to be on that property?
If you recall, it was probably about 9 months ago now, I know time flies, I think it was in February, we looked at the Richmond Meritage application, and that is for the area just to the north of this. So that area is going to be single family attached and detached, as well as some townhomes as well. So that area has been, that area is entitled. This is the next piece. If you can go back to Mayor, let me find what page that is for you. If you can go back to page number 212 of
Eric, quick question on those single family homes. Are those going to be for sale?
They will be for sale. That's correct. Yep. So you can see there's in this exhibit kind of to the left of lot 1, there is kind of another lot there that this kind of fits around. That is another piece of property that is part of this mixed use area. So there's a possibility that could develop some kind of residential as well, multifamily. It could be senior housing. It could be a hotel. We don't know yet. We haven't seen an application for that, but that is some of the uses that are called out for that particular lot. And then the area just to the south, to the bottom of that, to the south along 120th, that's the commercial area. So all of that area is zoned in the PD for commercial development.
Okay, thank you very much, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Councilmember Goff.
Thank you, Mayor Leidy. I don't know, it's not exactly a question, but I did, in looking through all of the material that in this packet, which there was a lot, there were some of the original documents that included the vision that the previous owners, the family, the Carl's Dairy Farm family, and their hopes for this piece of land. And they did specify that some housing for seniors, and we still haven't seen that yet. So I was a little disappointed that it didn't show up in this particular plot. We've still got that one last little piece that's left there. I'm not sure who I'm saying this to, but there's a really strong desire, I think, to have some kind of senior housing as part of the final package for this whole Carl's Dairy Farm development. And then so that's not a question. But the other question I had was when I was looking through the parking, and you have on your little chart that a 1-bedroom apartment would have 1.25 spaces of parking, which in these economic times, nobody's living alone. I got to tell you, there's going to be 2 cars at least for every single apartment, and maybe more. And I know in the final count, you have some extra parking spaces, but I just, that's a concern that I see, that when I look at this, the way this was platted out, is that I do not see enough parking for the people that I believe are going to be living there. I mean, when I just walk around in my own neighborhood, I mean, we're talking, small house, 2-bedroom houses, 3-bedroom houses, and some of them have 4, 5 vehicles. So I don't know if there's any way around that, but I can see that that's a problem that's going to be coming. And so I was just wondering if how was that number calculated? What is it based on? Is there any way to maybe give some more parking somewhere along the way there? So I'll let you answer that question.
Sure. Just to answer that question, that was reviewed as part of the site plan that was approved by the Planning Commission. The parking ratio is based on our Unified Development Ordinance parking ratio for multifamily. So basically, the required amount of parking that they're proposing as part of their development is consistent with our minimum requirements in our code. They are providing additional parking spaces. The code does also contemplate on-street parking. So there will be some on-street parking on both 121st and 122nd, which are the 2 avenues just north and south of this development. So they can take advantage of some on-street parking on those two streets as well.
Okay, and then my next question was, which I probably know the answer to, but is there any way that any part of this is going to be some kind of affordable housing, or some, like we talked about with the Civic Center campus, that we had some way of doing that, but I'm just wondering if any of these are going to be qualified for something like that.
This development is not. This development is a market rate development.
Okay. I think that was it for my questions then. Thank you.
Are there any other questions? So I feel like I got confused because of the presentation. Have we already asked for public comment on this one? I don't believe we have. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this item?
Yes, this is Ben Crenshaw. I'm with Southern Land Company. I just wanted to thank you for your time tonight. Ms. Mayor, the council, we're excited to be a part of the Northglenn community. We really appreciate Eric's help in getting us this far and the thoroughness of his presentation. Here to answer any questions.
I don't see any questions. I mean, since you're here, I would echo Councilmember Goff's question about parking, only because apartment complex parking is kind of a nightmare. If you've had a friend that has one, you can't even go see them because there's no visitor parking usually available, because the residents have to use it because they always have more than one car. So I think I understand it's our minimum, and actually to hear that, it makes me wonder if we should change that. That seems very low in the world that we live in. Brooke?
When we went through our UDO process, we actually updated our parking requirements in response to what we've seen happen over at Carrick Bend and other projects. And the reserve was another property where we did not have the new UDO in place. I believe that with the new standards that we have now, we have probably we're more adaptive and responsive to those concerns that were raised tonight by council.
What does that? I feel like I need you to clarify that a little bit, because
we're providing more parking under our new code than we would under our old code. And so to the extent that what we've done is that it used to be that it was a flat rate for every unit, regardless of the number of bedrooms. And so what we've done now is that we have a blended rate. So the 1 bedroom has the 1.25. I'm not sure what the ratios are for 2 and 3 bedroom, but know that what we've done is that we've actually provided more adaptability to the type of bedroom, to the number of bedrooms, whereas before we didn't recognize that. And I think the result is that we're netting more parking than we otherwise would have under our old code. Additionally, under the PUD itself, and Eric touched on this a little bit, is that we also looked at on-street parking within the development itself. And so I think that's another thing where we'll be accommodative for multifamily, especially with the concerns that you guys brought. We fully recognize this. This is an ongoing issue for several of our apartment complexes that are already here in the community.
And for what it's worth, we are an experienced developer and do feel like that our ratios are about right for what we see in this market, especially. We do need to create a parking problem for ourselves. That's something that we could not overcome from a leasing and just resident satisfaction standpoint. And so we feel very comfortable that the ratio that we have will be adequate for the community. If it's not, we will fully participate in managing a solution with the city.
Oh, that's nice. That's really nice, because I think it's one of those things that's going to not happen now. It's going to happen, once all of the units are rented and everything's full and people start living. That's when, we're trying to prevent some of the resident to resident complaints and some code enforcement stuff.
And we do design, develop, build, and manage our own communities. And so we
Right.
do have the experience of working through these kinds of solutions. And so we take that very seriously to begin with. So we can't leave our management group in a position where they have. So it is a very well-founded concern, and we feel like we're good with the ratio that we have now, but we will actively manage that going forward.
That's awesome. Thank you for being here tonight. Any other questions either for Eric or Ben or Brooke? No? Okay. Is there anyone on the line that would like to speak for or against this item? All right, hearing none, I will close the public hearing. We are now moving into ordinances on second reading. And we had, I believe, public hearings on all of these, so we probably know them well. CB 1953. Joanna, that title is really long. Do you want to read a shortened version of it?
Sure, I can. Yeah, we can shorten that. So this will be a bill regarding the 2018 International Building Codes, the 2017 National Electrical Code, and the 1997 Uniform Building Code for abatement of dangerous buildings.
Nice. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay.
So Brooke, I think we're clear on this, but is there anything you want to add?
I just wanted to point out tonight we also have on the meeting, we have Gary Moat from North Metro Fire. He is our fire engineer who works all things Northglenn when it comes to projects. He was part of the team that put this together. Also want to let everybody know that Dan Weston, our chief building official, is here to also, he's also part of the team and here to answer any questions. And lastly, I want to recognize Emily Richards, who's the Safe Build office manager and all things permit tech. And she was also very instrumental in putting together all of these amendments. Just want to recognize them for their efforts and also let you know that we're here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Great. Is there any discussion for that team? Okay, seeing none. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
We'll close that vote, and CB 1953 on second reading passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into CB 1954. Joanna, will you read the title?
A bill for an ordinance amending Article 18 of Chapter 10 of the Northglenn Municipal Code regarding contractors' licenses.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Brooke is here for this item. What would you like to add?
This is just a complementary ordinance to the IBC adoption, making minor revisions to our contractor license provisions in order to be consistent with 18 IBCs.
Okay, is there any discussion? All right, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
We'll close that vote, and CB 1954 on second reading passes unanimously.
Okay, we are moving into resolutions, and I believe we have quite a few tonight, so hold on to your hat. All right, resolution CR 133. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution approving a second amendment to the Stanley Lake Park intergovernmental agreement between the cities of Westminster, Thornton, and Northglenn.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, we have Tammy Moon, our environmental manager, is here to provide a summary. Hi, Tammy.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This particular resolution is for the second amendment of the Stanley Lake Park IGA. This is an agreement between the three cities, Northglenn, Thornton, and Westminster, in regards to how the property around Stanley Lake is being used so that it protects our water quality. We did an extension of the original IGA last year to kind of get us through some discussions regarding trailered boating. If you recall, this time last year, trailered boating on Stanley Lake was a pretty hot topic, and Northglenn was not supportive of continued trailered boating at Stanley Lake. So this is the major change to the IGA from the previous version. This version does have trailered boating removed from Stanley Lake. That was something that we were very adamant about having done on Stanley Lake so that we don't have to worry about water quality issues for Northglenn. The other two big changes in the previous version of this IGA, Westminster was responsible for 100% of the mitigation costs for damages caused by recreational uses. This IGA version splits the cost based on the quantity of storage each entity has within Stanley Lake. For Northglenn, that's about 17%. And then finally, we have agreed to participate in a risk assessment study with the other two cities. So other than that, the IGA stays pretty much the same. We have asked for some small changes regarding equestrian uses at Stanley Lake, but it's status quo otherwise.
Councilmember Mullica.
Yeah, I have a quick question, and I don't really know how to ask it, but I'll just say it anyway. So I'm really concerned about Stanley Lake for a number of reasons, and I want to just clarify what this IGA can do to protect Stanley Lake, especially for our interests. So, I mean, I know that banning the boating on Stanley Lake has caused a bit of an uproar in Westminster, in the city of Westminster among their residents. And right now, I'm not sure if you guys have heard, but several of those council members are being recalled, or at least there's recall petitions going around. It's water rate stuff, but also I've seen some of the discussion include what's going on with Stanley Lake. So does this IGA protect the city of Northglenn and our interests in banning boating on Stanley Lake, regardless of what happens with Westminster politics? How does that work?
Yes. So essentially what this IGA does is that it eliminates the unilateral decision-making that Westminster has for the recreational activities that occur at Stanley Lake. Going forward, any new recreational activities that occur or any changes to the existing recreational activities need to be approved by all three cities. So Westminster can't just go ahead and change stuff. That was something that Corey Hoffman and myself and Shelley Stanley fought very strongly for, because we felt like there were decisions that had been made previously by the city of Westminster that were not in the interest of water quality in Stanley Lake.
Okay, thank you so much, because I know that is just a concern that I have. I want to make sure that, Stanley Lake is protected because it's so, essential to our water. And I just wanted to make sure that we're kind of in the same boat with Westminster when it comes to protecting it.
And Councilmember Mullica, what I would add is that if you look at Section 3 of the agreement, there are certain allowed uses and prohibited uses. And when Tammy is referring to things that can't be changed, those are the uses that can't be changed. The prohibitions related to trailer boating, for example, can't be changed. And then if you go to the last page of the agreement, it's a 10-year agreement. So this is a long-term agreement. The only concern I would have, frankly, is if Westminster doesn't approve it this go around. But once this agreement is approved and it's on everybody's agenda before in the next couple weeks, as long as it gets approved by all three parties, then I think the concerns that the city council expressed to staff have been resolved.
All right, great. Can you just keep us posted when Westminster approves this as well? I just want to make sure it makes it through.
Certainly.
Thank you. Any other questions for Tammy or Corey or anyone else? Nope. Well, thank you for being here to present tonight. I really appreciate it. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Mullica?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close CR 133 and it passes unanimously.
All right, CR 141. 141 and 142 are super similar. Can we do them together or no? We can run through them separately if we have to.
I don't have any concerns with them being done together so long as council doesn't have any concerns where they are looking at each
separate
of them
items.
differently.
Okay, they seem very, very closely related. So Joanna, can you read them both?
So CR 141 is a resolution approving the final plat for the Carl's Farm filing number 1, amendment number 2 subdivision. And CR 142 is a resolution approving a subdivision improvement agreement for Carl's Farm filing number 1, amendment number 2.
Move for approval.
Second.
Thank you. And Eric is here. Does anyone have questions? I feel like we just had a pretty thorough presentation on that. Anything come to mind you want to ask or add? Okay. Joanna, will you call the vote, please? So we're voting on both CR 141 and CR 142.
Quick second. Okay, Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Mullica?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote and CR 141 and 142 both pass unanimously.
Thank you. Saved us a few minutes. All right. CR 143. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution approving a professional services agreement between the City of Northglenn and Barry Dunn McNeil and Parker LLC for the Community Co-Production Policing Implementation and Strategic Plan Project.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right. And it sounds like we have Chief May here to summarize this item.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. This is a resolution, if you approve this tonight, there's a contract for technical assistance in our strategic planning and our change management, and also the implementation of the community co-production policing. Next week, city manager and city attorney will bring forward option 3, which you guys decided on September 28th, which was a development of a CCPP advisory board by City Council. They'll bring that to you on November 2nd. Barry, Dunn, McNeil, and Parker. This is a group that did our 360 assessment. And this is a contract that we're going to hopefully expand their scope. And they're going to also outline in their proposal, they're going to work with the CCPP advisory board to hold community listening sessions and develop a report for council. They'll also work with that group to identify top priorities. During that work, that partnership, they'll work with staff to come up and develop those community co-production priorities for next steps. Also on with change management. They're going to work with myself and staff to help our police department, which was one of our goals when we started this 360 assessment, to become one of the Colorado's premier law enforcement agencies in Colorado. They're also going to provide technical support in developing our strategic plan. Also, next week we're going to be bringing forward our prioritization of our assessment to council. This contract is budget $57,000, which would come from the general fund. The cost is broken down as follows. For the advisory board technical assistance, it's $18,000. The change management portion is $23,000, and then assist us with our strategic planning will be $16,000. With that, do you guys have any questions?
Are there any questions for Chief? No? Okay, well, thank you for being here. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran-Mullica?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 143 passes unanimously.
All right, moving into CR 145. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution adopting the City of Northglenn 2021 pay plan.
Move for approval.
Second.
All right, Jason Loveland, our Director of Finance, is here. Can you summarize this for us, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. So annually, we adopt a pay plan that sets the salary ranges for each position within the city. This adoption will be for 2021 calendar year with an effective date December to the first pay period, starting December 19th. I would say the highlights of the pay plan for 2021 include increasing the minimum wage for any position within the city of Northglenn, not the city in total, but for the city of Northglenn employees, from $13.65 per hour to $15 per hour in 2021. That change does have a ripple effect through pay grade 10, 20, 30, and 40 as we identify equity components to the increased pay range for hourly rate. Additionally, new positions being added into the pay plan are the Community Resource Navigator, Digital Technician to help support body worn and dash camera. For the police department, Recreation Manager is a new position to be added at the Recreation Center. And then the Lieutenant and Deputy Chief, which are two new positions being added to the pay plan in 2021 to help us accomplish the restructured leadership plan at the police department. So with that, I can answer any questions if you have those.
Okay.
Councilmember Downing.
Yes, if you could refresh my memory, Jason, it might be you or Heather. First of all, I'm sure that you had a conversation about this, but I cannot recall. But concerning the Community Resource Navigator, is this a part-time or a full-time position?
It's a part-time position.
Pardon me?
Thank you, Councilmember Downey. It's a part-time position.
Okay. And can you tell me how many, since we've had this person or position filled, how many resources have we provided and how many families have we helped?
I can't tell you the total number of families off the top of my head. Rupa, I see that you're on. You may be able to speak more directly to the support that Jessica has been able to provide. So she's the position currently is 20 hours a week, and it's focused on COVID-19 response and recovery. And so the intent of the Community Resource Navigator position for next year is to expand that focus beyond COVID-19 response, although I think we will still have some element of that, but to really focus on citywide issues, including homelessness. She's doing quite a bit of that right now as well, but then working with the police department and the court system in terms of a mental health approach, working closely with Judge Bailhash. So Rupik, do you have more specifics that you can cite for Councilmember Downing in response to her question?
Sure. So she probably speaks with about 4 to 5 families or individuals a week, and some of those might be repeat families and individuals. And as City Manager Geyer had mentioned, the bulk of her time right now is the COVID-19 testing site every Wednesday. She's actually there on site. But she has about 2 or 3, I want to say 3 clients right now that Judge Bailhash has asked her to do some case management with.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. And, but I have some concerns concerning the navigator. I was opposed to the position when we first brought her on, but then when we used the CARES money, I was hoping to hear a little more about what the resources might be. I just feel putting on another person on the payroll during this time when we are really concerned about COVID and our reserves and everyone going down, and I just don't believe that you have convinced me enough that I can at least vote for that particular position. I felt from the very beginning, once we used the COVID money or the CARES money to bring on this position, immediately, I just felt very strongly that it was another way to get another position filled. And I think and I'm not saying this correctly. I know I'm not, but I just don't feel, I think that there's so many resources out there. Adams County has resources. We are not social services. The city municipalities have never been social services. Adams County does a wonderful job at what they do. I have talked to some cities in the area where they've had navigators, and actually they decided to move on because they didn't have enough to keep them busy. So expanding the navigator community, I just don't think at this time it's the right time to have a navigator. I'm sure she does a good job. There's nothing against the person that's doing the job. I just don't feel that this is the right time to create another position. So I have to, Corey, help me with this. I have no problem with CR 145, but I want to vote no on the navigator position. So can we pull that out of there and vote it separately, or can how can we handle this?
I think it would require an amendment to eliminate that position as the way to it, if you desire to do it that way.
Okay, all right.
So would we need to vote on an amendment to remove it?
Yes, so someone would have to make a motion to amend in a second, and then you would vote on the amendment first. And if the amendment passed, then you would be voting on the pay plan without the navigator position. If the amendment failed, then you would be voting as presented.
And I'm only speaking for myself, in what I want. Otherwise, I would vote against the pay plan.
Okay. Councilmember Peterson?
Thank you very much, Mayor. We talked about this last week, and many folks weren't here, but we indicated last week, Heather, that the city's on a hiring freeze, correct?
It is on a hiring freeze, less a couple positions that I've allowed to be hired given our current financial status. Granted, that was all going back to level 3.
Right, and this the community resource navigator was originally funded as a part-time position with COVID funds. Is that correct as well?
That's correct.
And then this allocation would be from our reserve funds?
This position
or for our funds?
It's being recommended as part of the general fund budget for 2021.
And as Councilwoman Downing indicated, she's part-time now, but is the allocation for her to continue part-time?
It is 0.5 FT part-time.
And is that for the 12 months, or do we revisit part-time, full-time at another day?
No, that's for the year. So if council were to approve the pay plan as presented tonight, as well as the 2021 budget as presented, you would be approving the position. Ultimately, you'd be approving the position with adoption of the budget and that position included in the budget.
Okay. I favored the community resource navigator early on when we're in the origins of COVID and everything's brand new, and how do people get, where is the testing, and when all of this was brand new for everybody. As I listen to Councilwoman Downing, I think I agree with her. Is I'm not sure the juice is worth the squeeze here in terms of what we're seeing in terms of the resources, albeit valuable, but a handful of families, a handful of people per week. I'm not sure, based on everything else that we're doing with the city, and again, in fairness to every other department, I'm not sure I see a real urgency to continue this position. So I would vote, if an amendment's offered, to separate that from the budget and vote on that separately.
Councilmember Goff and then Councilmember Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. I think from working with the homelessness task force that I see that this is a valuable position. I think she's only been doing this for a few months. I don't know, the program's just getting up and running. And so a lot of that has to do with, just trying to figure out what needs to be done and what the resources are. And if she's been working every Wednesday at the COVID testing site, I still think that this is a valuable position, because if nothing else, the needs for this kind of assistance are only going to increase, especially, I think, since we're now on level 3. Who knows how long this is going to drag on. And even if for some reason in a couple of weeks we could pull out a level 3 and, miraculously all kinds of things could happen to get everybody back on track, there are going to be so many more people that have been unemployed, or businesses that have been shut. And our own residents, I know I've talked to some in Ward 3 who renters and owners who are struggling to pay a mortgage, rent, and she's the kind of person that can help, direct people to resources. I still see this as a valuable position, and I would continue to have it in our budget for next year. It's not a full-time position. I think in the scope of the whole budget, it's like a tiny drop in the bucket. So I'm not in favor of trying to remove that. I just think we should still give her at least like a whole year to see what comes out of this. How many people she's helped, what people think about it, those who have been helped. And that's all I have to say on that one right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Brown and then Mullica.
I was actually torn on this, and I'm glad that Joyce brought it back up today. I think that we are trying to, we may be trying to micromanage a process that's much better handled out of Adams County and not handled out of Northglenn. If we need to figure out how to get those resources, identified and things like that, I'm all for it. when I look at the budget for next year, every time I say the word budget, I look at how much of that, it just pops in my mind of how much of our budget is coming from our general reserve next year. Almost 50% of our budget is coming from the general reserve. We can't continue to add positions. We can't continue to spend money. We need to start pulling back a little bit. And I think that we're not leaning on Adams County enough to help our residents. They pay taxes to Adams County too. And unfortunately at this time, I have a really hard time spending any more money with as much money from our budget that is coming from the general reserve for next year. We should be tightening down our bootstraps and doing what we need to do, but saving money wherever we can. Thank you very much. So if you didn't figure that out, I'll be voting for the amendment to pull that out.
Okay, Councilmember Malika and then Escabel.
Awesome, thank you. So I actually support this position. I know that she's just been getting up and going. I think an obvious reason for me why we should continue to support this position is the very situation we're in right now. Our COVID cases are increasing. We're shutting down again. COVID's not over, people. I know we all want it to be over. I know we want it all to go back to normal, but it's not. And even with a promised vaccine that everyone is hoping for, even starting possibly like January or something. I mean, like, even the vaccine is like so wishy-washy. I mean, we're not getting out of a COVID situation anytime soon. So yeah, we're on the wave 3. Is there going to be a 4th wave? Is there going to be a 5th wave before vaccine is given to the community, before we're actually out of the situation? This is just going to continue to hit us over and over again. And anything that 2020 has taught us is that the impossible is possible. And so we need, unfortunately, I think our community needs this, and especially after that study session last week. And for those who were not on that meeting, please watch that video. It was so important, the work that our homeless community task force folks are doing. They had an amazing presentation. I think it really outlined the need of this position. And so I'm asking my council members, please guys, let's just hang on. I'm okay with having this conversation again for the 2022 budget, but I mean, 2021, it's still going to be a COVID year, guys. It's not going to get much better. We don't have, I want to say that it is, but we don't have any guarantees that it is. So we need to make sure that we're still providing resources to our residents, and of course, expanding it to some of that homeless work that we've been talking about, because that is actually only going to get worse as this situation continues, as businesses keep shutting down, as jobs get lost, as people start losing their homes after the eviction moratorium is lifted after December. So it's not getting any better anytime soon. And we have a responsibility to serve our residents.
Councilmember Escabel and then Councilmember Witkovich.
I think you said my name.
I did.
Thank you, Mayor.
Did you hear me?
Well, your mic is breaking up, so
I'm sorry.
I hear part of it. I think that when we budgeted, I'm speaking for or support our community resource navigator. When we talked about the budget at halftime for the year, I think it was $35,000, if I'm not mistaken. That's what we budgeted for that. Now I'd like to ask you, Jason, how much additional money was budgeted to the rec center this year in our 2021 budget? We got what, 15 positions or 14 positions? Come on, folks. People who are hurting need, if nothing else, they need to have someone who can listen to them and try to understand their position. We're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on salaries for the rec center. And discussing $35,000 for a full year of work at halftime. That is not okay. If you go along with that, I think you fail our citizens. I think that, and I'm speaking as a social worker, and the kind of stories I heard all my life about people who were hurting and troubled and needed resources, needed someone just to listen. It's not that we're trying to solve their problem. Adams County Social Services can solve their problem. We're providing a listening ear. We're providing a human being to make contact with this person. So I would ask you to not even bring this up. Just, we budgeted $35,000 for next year. Let's just go with that. And thank you.
Thanks. Councilmember Witkovich.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to agree with everything Councilmember Esquivel just said. After the study session a couple weeks ago, I was really impressed with Jessica and everything that she's doing. And I think what she's doing is invaluable. You know, some of our families might find it really difficult navigating the resources through Adams County, confusing, intimidating. I think having somebody local is really helpful, but also for our homeless population who are here in Northglenn. It's somebody right there. They don't have to take a bus to go very far. I think it's really great having that service here in the city, and I definitely will not support an amendment to take that out. Thank you.
I know we have a couple repeated hands, but I want to make sure everyone gets an opportunity. I see that Mayor Pro Tem Wilford has joined us.
Hi, Madam Mayor and hi, rest of council. I apologize for not joining earlier. However, I had a COVID test this morning and have been feeling terrible. I got a text message from Councilmember Mollica that this had become quite the discussion point and felt like I couldn't sit it out and I couldn't rest any longer because Jessica in this position has been such a tremendous value add to the city since she was brought on board. For example, I was on the phone with Jessica this morning trying to identify resources and transportation options to get somebody to Brighton who was experiencing homelessness and didn't have the resources that they need. And she was able to figure that out. And then I also was frustrated with the county in that we are still having to figure out how to get people to Brighton and still having to figure out how we're supporting folks experiencing homelessness when they're supposed to be filling this gap. And she shared that she was convening a regional conversation about how we were supporting our individuals experiencing homelessness. And that hasn't happened yet. And I feel like Jessica is really like the catalyst to us being able to move forward in a way that respects and supports our residents. And when I think about how much money we've spent on the rec center, when I think about how much money we've spent on studies and on all kinds of other things, $35,000 is a drop in the bucket. And I think that it's something that I have heard our residents ask for time and time again, whether it's been at a Ward 4 meeting, whether it's been at a council meeting, that they don't know how to solve these problems themselves and they need help. And the reality is that us as individual council members don't have the expertise to figure out all the resources and how to connect people to the resources. And so having somebody on staff that we can direct them to is really important. And I think this is a necessary thing for our city. And it's something that we're starting to see this position in cities across the metro area because there is a need that hasn't been there before. And so again, I think $35,000 is a small amount of money. I personally think we should be spending more in funding this position at a full-time capacity, but I'm willing to give her and the position a year to show us what she can do before evaluating and making it full terms or full time. So I sincerely hope that we can move forward and include this position. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to give my 2 cents and then I know we have a couple more hands. One thing I heard a lot was the name Jessica. And while I know she's doing a great job, I don't like to vote on positions if we're talking about people, because Jessica could, you know, have an opportunity and move to Texas tomorrow. So when I consider it, I don't consider the position. Now, is she doing a good job? Yes. If she's listening, yes. Super thankful for you. However, what we're talking about is the position, not the person. And so what in the position didn't exist before she got here, right? So she has had the opportunity to sort of develop it with the Northglenn team. And I think they're finding their way. I don't believe, since it's a half-time position for a full calendar year, I don't believe that it's necessary to stop that now. I think we should consider letting the team, because it's not just Jessica on her own, she's not winging it, right? She's working collaboratively with the rest of our staff to develop this position. And I think they need the opportunity to continue figuring it out. And I'd like to see at the end of this, or even in the next couple months, a more full description of what her job is, because I know it's ebbing and flowing. And so, we've got the homelessness piece, the COVID stuff will come and go. We do know that COVID, I completely agree with Councilmember Malika, COVID's not going anywhere. So we have at least another full year of needing support there. I believe it is an awesome benefit to our residents to have this position. And the fact that we have such a skilled person in it is a benefit to us, but the position is what I am advocating for. So I would vote to keep it. But I see that Councilmember Downing and Councilmember Goff had their hands up again.
So thank you. I'm just wondering, we have CARES money left. Couldn't we utilize the CARES money next year, or do we have to spend everything by the end of this year?
It needs to be spent by the end of this year.
Do you think that we'll be getting any more CARES money? I mean, or any type of funding from the federal government, or?
That's uncertain that any additional funds would come available. And if they did, even more unclear if they would be able to be spent beyond 2020.
Right. Thank you. Well, and I hear everybody's arguments, and I agree, that COVID is here. It's going to be here for a while. But I still, in my own mind, I am feeling that there are resources out in the community that are available to everyone. They may not be, probably because they haven't had to use them, so they don't know where they're at. I get that, but right now I'm not comfortable in voting for that position. Maybe if I saw a job description, because what we're doing is we're taking a position that was developed for a specific reason, and now all of a sudden we're expanding it to other things. And I'm just very concerned about how we're going about this and what is happening. That is my personal opinion. I have no issues, helping folks. I'd love to help people, but I'm just looking at the overall picture in my mind, and I can't justify it. That's all.
Okay. So instead of going around again, Councilmember Goff, I'll give you an opportunity since you had your hand up, but then I think we should just entertain a motion and figure out which way to go.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to maybe kind of clarify or expand a little bit, because in working with the homeless task force, that I see this position as someone who can help address and coordinate our efforts and give her experience, give the experience and knowledge of someone in this position to the homelessness task force, that we don't have anyone on staff to do that. And to say that those resources are out there, while homelessness is a problem that is continuing to grow in our city, we've had more and more, complaints, concerns, whatever you want to say. People are noticing and talking about it. And so I see that that this position is someone who can help us move forward in coming up with some kind of program or ability to help people who are homeless, who don't know, like especially if you suddenly become homeless, you don't know how to be homeless. You don't know where those resources are. And I also will echo Councilmember Wilford's comments about Adams County not necessarily having the resources that people here in our community need, because they don't have a shelter for people in Northglenn. We don't have, they tell us, Thornton has something, or go back to Denver, they've got stuff. We've had more help on the homelessness task force from people who work in Denver than from Adams County. And I'm not just trying to badmouth Adams County. They're working, I know they're working on it, but they haven't got anything together organized enough that we can send, we know who to send people to. I think Councilmember Mullica just talked about earlier some information she was trying to find on their website that isn't working right. So we're all struggling with COVID. I don't see this position as only dealing with COVID. It certainly is what's going on right now. And I think there are going to be after effects once, COVID is not, controlling our lives, that we're going to have to deal with economically and financially, psychologically. I see this as a very beneficial position, and I just urge everyone to really consider supporting it.
Thank you, Councilmember Goff. So I will entertain a motion if someone wants to make it.
How would we do the motion? Joyce, you want to do it?
No, I'm fine if we just move on the motion that was made. And I personally am going to vote no on CR, 145, due to that. Or, and I guess my question again to Corey was, can I vote yes, except for that position, or can I just do, or do I just vote straight no?
It's up to you. You either have to vote yes or no on the resolution.
Okay,
so
all right.
That's the issue.
Yeah,
but you can make the motion to amend it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I can, but I can see where the consensus is, and there's no reason to do that. And I'm willing. I've already stated my case why. I feel strongly about and it's not that I don't want to help people. That's not it. It's just the how I feel strongly about how we came to this position. It was for one thing, and now all of a sudden we're moving it into a part-time. And my guess is by the time we're done with this, the job description is going to be 360 degrees different, and we're going to have a full-time person, at the end of the year. So, this is my personal issue with the process.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we are ready to vote on CR 145. Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
No.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Mullica?
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 145 passes with one no vote cast by Councilmember Downing.
All right, moving into CR 146. Joanna, will you read the title, please?
A resolution establishing the mill levy of the City of Northglenn, Colorado for the fiscal year 2020, collectible in 2021 for municipal purposes.
Move for approval.
Second.
So Jason Loveland is here. Do you want to provide a summary for us?
Sure. Thank you, Mayor and council members. Annually, we set the mill levy with the county. This year, we're proposing to set this at 11.597 mils. 7.597 mils will be used for general operating activities in the general fund, with 4 mils being restricted for the purpose of major road and street reconstruction projects. The mill levy has been set, was established at 11.597 in 1991, and so set to the same thing for 29 years. For 2021, we expect the total revenue generated to be just over $4.9 million. I can answer any questions if you have any. This is based off of the preliminary assessed valuation from the counties. So we'll get a final valuation in the middle of December, or by December 10th. But this is for general purposes. We expect that to be pretty consistent. Total assessed valuation of $429,792,800. So we're not expecting to see a significant change from now until then.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 146 passes unanimously.
Okay, moving into CR 147. Joanna, will you read the title?
A resolution adopting the 2021 budget of the City of Northglenn, Colorado, and appropriating the sums set forth therein.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Jason is still here with us. Tell us about this one.
So this is establishing the 2021 budget for next year. The total budget that's being presented is $119,330,198. There was a public hearing held on October 12th. And since that public hearing where there was no public comment made, there have been no changes to the proposed budget that you're considering this evening. And with that, we can talk more about the budget. We've talked about it a few times, so I don't want to restart that conversation about the budget unless you would like to.
Anybody have questions or comments? All right, Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Leidy?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford?
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich?
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes.
Councilmember Downing?
Yes.
Councilmember Brown?
Yes.
Councilmember Goff?
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika?
Yes.
Councilmember Escabel?
Yes.
I will close that vote, and CR 147 passes unanimously.
All right, thank you, everyone. We made it through all those resolutions. We have one discussion item tonight. We have Amanda Peterson with our Master Plan Phase 1 October update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick update for you. I think the one thing that we've continued to move through without any significant COVID impacts has been the construction of the new rec center, senior center, and theater, which has been great. So we've stayed on schedule and on budget, which I'm glad to be able to continue to tell you that every month. Most of I provided you with a list of kind of where they're at with each portion of the building in the memo itself. I'm happy to answer any questions about those, but wasn't going to go through each of them unless anyone would like me to. The biggest update this month really is that we do have a date set for the topping out ceremony. So with some of, obviously, the COVID restrictions that are in place as we move into a level 3, we're gonna have some conversation tomorrow about exactly what that will look like. But I'd love to ask you all to save the date on November 12th. It is a Thursday. I'm looking at the late afternoon hours, and we'll likely break into 2 or 3 groups in order to allow City Council and our staff members, as well as NURA and Parks and Recreation Advisory Board members, to participate in a safe way. So we're going to meet about that tomorrow and should be able to have details out to you a little later this week. But in the meantime, if you could save the date, that would be great. Other than that, we are also looking at our one last kind of public outreach piece with our senior center furniture. So we're doing some one-on-one appointments in the senior center, and Kate has incorporated some furniture testing into that. So she'll be able to work with some of our senior center members one-on-one or with individual households so that they're able to test out some of the furniture that we'll have in the new space and make some recommendations before we make our final choices as we move into the RFP for a furniture vendor later this year. Our next and I believe final update for 2020 will be on November 23rd. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Mullica?
Yeah, I have a quick question, Amanda. So I see in the memo that you prepared, you have a little section called for solar power.
Yes.
How does this? How did the solar power? How did the solar power? I don't know. How does it change since the original plan design? Because I don't remember solar power being that big of a part of the original design, but I actually don't remember. So has that evolved at all over this process, or is it the exact same thing since the beginning of the project?
It has evolved a bit. So in the initial project, we had included, in the concept, we'd included a concept level design or solar for the facility. As we moved through design, we continued to provide the appropriate structure to allow for solar panels to be added to the building, but we couldn't fit them into the initial budget. As we've continued to get through the project to date and feel comfortable with the project contingency and some of the allowances that haven't been expended on other items, we have identified money within those allowances, so without going into the contingency, but within the allowances for the project, to be able to move forward with the solar as it was designed or developed during the concept phase, but not included in the base project.
Okay, so the addition of the panels hasn't put us over budget or anything like that. Okay.
No, we're using savings from other portions of the project to cover those costs.
Okay, and do we have an idea of what percentage of energy is actually going to be produced by these panels that the rec center is going to consume?
One of the targets we've looked at is the EV charging stations that we're looking at putting in, being able to offset the amount of power that those EV charging stations would take with the solar panels.
Okay, all right.
It's a demonstration level system.
Okay. Awesome, great. Well, yeah, I didn't remember solar panels at the beginning, and I was like, oh, now we're getting solar panels. How many? And how much energy can we get? So that's helpful. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I just have a follow-up on the solar panels, Amanda. Is there going to be battery storage on site, or is the energy generated from the solar panels going to go back to Excel?
I would have to ask probably Project One for more information on that. We've just started this process, so we don't have a vendor on yet, but I can ask that question.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
Any other questions for Amanda? No. Okay. Well, thank you very much. And I think we are done with that item. We appreciate you staying and being here. All right, next item, public invited to be heard. It's an opportunity for public comment. Do we have anyone on the phone who would like to speak to council at this time? Okay. that is all. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Joanna, will you call the vote, please?
Mayor Lighting,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilford,
Yes.
Councilmember Witkovich,
Yes.
Councilmember Peterson,
Yes.
Councilmember Downing,
Yes.
Councilmember Brown,
Yes.
Councilmember Goff,
Yes.
Councilmember Duran Malika,
Yes.
Councilmember Escobar.
Yes.
I will close that vote, and the motion to adjourn to executive session passes unanimously.
All right, we are adjourned to executive session. If everyone would like to take, I don't know, 5 minutes,